In this one, we are going to be creating a categories section for our products, or actually models for categories. Now, these categories themselves are going to be very similar to what you might see on Amazon as departments. But the way we're going to actually do it is so you can start categorizing the products in a variety of different so-called departments, or in this case, of course, categories. So what we want to do is open up our products models, and inside of here is where we're going to actually put in our categories. And something we want to work towards is, number one, is categorizing our products, but then also once we assign those categories, possibly automatically making default variations for whatever that product is, right? So let's say, for instance, if a product is in a category t-shirt, then automatically it probably should need certain sizes, right? So it should, right off the bat, go off of it saying like it's going to have X or small, medium, large, blah, 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 and so on. And that's actually what we're going to work towards. But initially, we need to make the categories and make them work in the sense that we have a whole variety of things. So now above products, or class product, I'm going to do class category. And it's going to be models.model. And we'll give it a title. Let's see, let's think about through what we're going to do. A title, description. We can give it, we wouldn't give it a price, right? That doesn't make sense. We could give it a slug. So title, description, slug. Potentially we would have active, timestamp, and updated. So I'm going to just go ahead and copy and paste those. I'm just trying to think of like what else would we do? Possibly a featured category. So I'll just add featured in here and have it as a Boolean field as well. So that's going to be, kind of our featured category, like whether or not it's featured or not is up to us. And I'll just give the default of being none. As far as featured, it doesn't matter if it's featured or not. And so then slug, we want to use a slug field. And as far as a category, we do want it to be unique for the category model. Description and title, I can just go ahead and copy what we have before. And the description, now you don't really need a title for or a actual full-on description at all for a category, really. I mean, it just kind of depends on how you want to define this category more. But it's very similar to the product as we see here. Now, we don't have a foreign key relationship to the product and category currently because I want to actually talk about it first. But before I talk about it, I'm going to just make sure I put the Unicode in here because that's something you'll definitely need to do. And return self.title. All right, so now there's a couple ways on how we can actually do this category. See, we could have foreign key relationships on either one, product or category, right? Which would make sense if the product itself had a foreign key relationship. But what if it wanted to have multiple categories, right? So if one product is a t-shirt, it could also be in women's clothing, or it could be in children's clothing, or it could be in athletic wear, all types of different categories that this product could actually fit into. So what we're going to actually use is within the product model itself is using a many-to-many field, which allows us to have one instance of the class being associated to several instances of a different class. That's what a many-to-many field is. It's exactly like a foreign key, but it's just a little bit different. So let's go ahead and do that. Inside a product, I'm gonna put underneath description, I'll do category equals to models.many to many field, and it's going to be category, and I'm going to allow it to be null and blank because you might not want to categorize something, right? You might not, and by allowing us to have it null and blank also means that we don't have to categorize all of our old stuff. Now, if you wanted to categorize all your old stuff, or at least not leave it blank, we could just do default equals to 1. And that's going to give us that first ID of category, assuming that is actually in the database. But if it's not in the database, it's going to run all these errors. So we'll just leave it as null equals to true and blank equals to true. So now that we have this, we will definitely start to understand how these all work. So let's go ahead and do our schema migration. And I'll do Python manage.py schema migration, and it's going to be category, or excuse me, products auto, and then Python manage.py migrate products. All right, so let's run the server. And then also in the admin, I want to add in the category to the admin site. So add in, actually import in category. And so from here, what we'll do is register it. So admin.site.register and category. All right, so let's go ahead and look in the admin. Go into our site, check out the admin, log in, and then we will see categories in here. All right, so let's actually create a category, and I'll just say t-shirt, and the slug will just say t-shirt. Featured, well, we don't have to worry about that yet. Save it. Now going back into products, take a look at products, go to the actual t-shirt, and notice that we have this category here. So now you can actually select multiple categories, right? So let's add another one in and say active wear, and slug of active wear. Save that. Cool. So now I have two of them, right? So now this t-shirt is t-shirt and activewear. So I can save this. And now I've got these product categories, right? So let's actually take a look at what these product categories do by going into, we are going to go into the shell. So Python manage.py shell. And this allows us, of course, to use our instances from our models itself. So from, and then, of course, if you just type Python itself, we wouldn't be able to have the Django stuff. That's why you do manage.py shell. So from products.models, import category. All right, so now we'll do cat. I'll just say cat equals category.objects.all. Cat. We have two categories here. So for item in cat, we'll print item. All right, so now we have those t-shirts and activewear and all that stuff showing. So now we want to actually print the products that are related to any given category. So again, doing for item in cat, we'll do item.product.set.all. And that gives us the reverse side of it, which is giving us t-shirt twice, right? Because we have two categories, so it's going to give us that same t-shirt. Now, if I created a new category, let's just say cat equals to category.objects.create, and we'll say title equals to another, or well, let's actually say cotton. I don't know why you'd have a category specifically for cotton, because that's more of an attribute of the product. So actually, let's not do that. That being said, so title, let's do women's. Okay, so women's clothing. How about that? That makes a lot more sense now. And then the slug equals to women's clothing. And then I'm just looking in here what the default values of things that we have to actually have are the required values. So that's it. I think slug and title are the only required values. Nope, featured is the other one. And let's do that and say featured equals to false. All right, so now that new category is created, women's clothing. So now I'll have to do cats equals to category.objects.all for item in cats. So this is, each item is a category instance itself. So item.product.set.all. The first one is going to show us the product that's associated to it. Second one shows us that product that's associated to it. The third one doesn't have any products because we just created it, and therefore it shows us an empty list. Another way to see this, of course, would be to actually print out the item first. So print item, and then print item.product.set.all. And then that shows us t-shirt has product t-shirt, activewear, so on and so forth. So this is cool. This is how we actually work with these two things. Now, how do we actually add in products to new categories, right? So if I had all these categories and I wanted to actually add in a product to that category, how would I actually do that with this many-to-many field without using the admin, that is? So to do this, what we would do is first we'd have to import the product itself. So let's make sure that it's imported. I don't think it is. So we have to import the product model itself. So let's go ahead and copy this and add in product here. Okay, so now if I do product.objects.all, I have a few different products here. So now I need to set a category, or I do have a category as cats, so that's women's clothing, right? So I actually have a category as a variable right now, and I have a list of products. So now from this list of products, I want to grab one of these products. I'm just going to say product 1. So I'm going to go product or pro equals to product.objects.all, and then getting that first item in the list, which would be this right here. Again, 0 represents the first item in the list, second, third, fourth, and so on. Okay, so now I've got pro, so I do pro, it's product 1. So now I have a category and a product. Now how do I add this category to this product? So it's pro.category, so category, and then .add and cat. So that right there actually adds that category. So if I do pro.category, just type it out, no add, it shows that it has a related object here. So pro.category.all shows the actual categories that are in here. So there's a manager, many-to-many related manager, and this is how it works, right? So it's actually showing this here. So pro.category.all is showing exactly from that product. Now if I did pro2, let's do pro2 by taking that second position point, pro2. So if I did pro.category or pro2.category.all, what you should expect to see is nothing, right? That's exactly what it as expected. So in pro category, we added category. How do we remove it? Pro.category.remove cat. And now if we do pro.category.all, we've got nothing. So that's how you add and remove many-to-many relationships. So what this does for us is it allows us to have all types of categories. We can have 100 or more categories in here for this specific product, and then we can associate them or remove them as we'd like. Now, the reason I showed you how to do this in the shell, not only to illustrate the concept, but also now you can take this same idea and apply it to any view. So if you're able to get the product itself or an individual product, then you can use that to actually add an individual category or multiple categories. So if you have a list of categories, you could also do that as well. So let's go ahead and try the list of categories thing out. So I think I have cats still as categories. And now let's see pro.category.all. So if I did pro.category.add and I did cats, well, you can't do a query set, right? You have to do individual ones. So all I do is for ABC and cats. And now I would do pro.category.add and then the actual instance. As it says, it cannot be a string or number, or it has to be a string or number, not a query set, which in this case, it's sending in the instance itself. So we adding the cat just like that. And now if I look at pro.categories.all, I see that I have women's clothing. Oops, I made a mistake here. So it iterated through and I didn't add in the actual instance, which would be that. So if I add in it again and do the instance, this time it'll actually have all three of them. And if I go up, notice that women's clothing was in there when I made the mistake of just adding the instance that we already set up here of cat, right? So I said cat equals to that one we just created, which was that. So it doesn't add it twice, right? It's only going to be in there once because it's already in there. So it's not going to need to add. And that's also how it's easy to remove. And that's what's something that's very valuable about using this many-to-many field. Now, many-to-many fields don't always make sense, right? In some cases, like product variations, it's easier for us to use a foreign key relationship because then I can just add a bunch of variations to a specific product instead of having a bunch of variations and then having the product being added or those variations being added specifically to the product. Now, let's think of this another way. You can absolutely do category and variations exactly the same way, right? So if you had category and then you had a variations many-to-many field, and then you removed this foreign key relation, you can absolutely do that, right? That is 100% okay. And within the variations, you can also have a foreign key to the category itself. But what I want to do here is, instead of having a category for variations, I would much rather say, if it's a certain type of category, so if the category is a t-shirt, for example, then we want to make sure that all of our products have the same variations in it. Now, this is getting a little complicated, right? So maybe we do want to have our variations related specifically to a category. So then the whole range of category products has that variation. But then on the other hand, not every t-shirt has the same variations, right? So like they might all have small, medium, and large, but they might not all have red, white, and blue, or whatever, some set of colors. It might not do that. So that's where I'm going to keep the variations specific to the product itself. Now, that doesn't mean that when we select a category that we can't have variations that are tied in with that category itself. So that being said, we can even set different variations within inside of category. But again, that's going to get it a little too complicated and stuff like that. So what I'm going to do is just leave it as we have now. And then once we do updates to this product, we're going to go through all the categories that are there. And then if there's defaults that we set, those will create or get these variations for that specific product. Okay, so if you have any questions on adding this stuff, let me know. Otherwise, let's keep going.